This is rental car number 140, and today I'm driving the 2020 Nissan Kicks SV. This is a 5-door subcompact crossover SUV. Got this one from Enterprise for 850 points. And I got to use these points up because I have so many of them and I'm worried they're going to expire. If you were to rent this one on your own, it's a compact SUV. That's the class Enterprise uses, and it typically costs about $50 a day. Now this one is in Cayenne red metallic paint, which I kind of like, with a charcoal cloth interior. That's actually your only option on this trim level, but also pretty attractive. So let's take a look under the hood. And before we do that, I just want to note that this car is so new that I got to peel off the plastic on the hood release, and I don't know why, but I find that so satisfying. Anyway, under the hood we have a 1.6 liter 16 valve 4-cylinder engine, and it has Nissan's Xtronic CVT. That's a continuously variable transmission. And there is a small but very vocal group of people out there who do not like Nissan's CVTs. Most of them have experienced something pretty horrible, which is their transmission blowing out at about 90 to 100,000 miles, so right around the time when their warranty expires, which I totally get. It could be super frustrating. But I had no problems with the CVT, and it kicks out a decent amount of horsepower. You get 122 horses on this at 6,300 RPMs. And since you don't get a ton of power, you get some pretty decent gas mileage. 31 miles per gallon in the city, 36 on the highway. That's a combined rating of 33 miles per gallon, and you get a 10.8 gallon fuel tank.
So here's the key fob. It is Nissan's standard fob. I'm always slightly disappointed that Nissan hasn't changed this in the better part of, 15 years, but it works fine. Nissan's logo on the top, remote start. Then you have a lock and unlock button and a panic button right here. Nothing on the back. It's an oval shape, so it fits in your pocket really nicely, and it is very light, which I don't typically like. I like a little weight to my key fobs, but it's hard to complain because this does work pretty well. Let's try out the panic button so we can hear the horn real quick. Kind of a wimpy horn in my opinion, but as with the key fob, it gets the job done. No physical key on this car, so we have a push button start. Typically they're located right here on the side of the steering wheel. You can even see that there's a spot for it to be put here, but on this car, it is down here by the gear shift. Let's give it a push and watch her start up. Alright, here's the steering wheel set up. There are a number of buttons here. You have a volume rocker right here, a directional keypad that allows you to adjust things in the gauge cluster up here. I'll show you that in a second. Buttons to change the track you're listening to or go back if you're cycling through menu structures up there. On the right hand side we have our cruise controls, our voice assistant technology, and then a button to answer and hang up phone calls. 2 stalks. I always mention that because there's a lot of vehicles out right now that only have 1 stalk. And then up top, we have a pretty nice, small, but nice gauge cluster. And half of this is a digital screen. So everything here is digital, and then this is an actual gauge. So right now, the setup is we have RPMs over here on the left with a fuel gauge down here. We have our driver assist technology showing right here in the center along that we're in park. Our odometer is down here. This is a brand new vehicle. It only has 495 miles on it. And then we have a clock, and this shows us the outside temperature. And then on the right hand side we have a speedometer right here with a trip counter reset button right here. But we're going to cycle through and change the screen right here by using these directional keypads. So I'm just going to press to the right and the left, and we'll cycle through the main screens. So we have our audio screen right here, showing us what's being played over the entertainment features. We have a miles per gallon screen, information about the vehicle, and it's going to skip over because it's not active, but you also have a warning screen right there. And then also you have your settings screen. Let me just show you a couple of things that I like. RPMs, always useful. I don't typically use this screen because, I'll just glance over here if I want to see what's playing over the audio. Miles per gallon, you can do that right here in the single graph, or you can press down and you can show the history of the vehicle as you've been driving it, which I think is pretty cool. And then information about the vehicle. You have a digital speedometer, You have what they call a drive computer, which shows you your average miles per gallon, and then how far you've driven the vehicle total, and how long the engine's been on. You also have your driving aid screen, and you'll notice when you have the big driver's aid screen up that the center screen changes also. So now it only shows that we're in park. Down below there we have tire pressure, and then we have coolant temperature. I also like the settings screen because you can actually change quite a bit and set it so it only shows what you like. So let me show you that real quick. So we're going to customize the display. We're going to go main menu selection, and then we can change whether we're going to show this audio screen right here. So maybe we want to turn it off. We can change whether we want that drive computer to cycle through when we press the left and right buttons. So I'm going to turn that off. And then we can turn off the driving aids, for example, the tire pressure, and the coolant temperature. So you would have nothing in that case, and you'll see the system is giving us a warning that we have to keep something on. I just like this because I don't necessarily like all the screens that are given to us by the manufacturer, and it's nice that you can customize things a little bit. To the left of the steering wheel, we have our window controls, our door locks, a directional keypad to change the side view mirrors. We have a silver door latch and then a door lock right here. Down below there we have a couple of storage cutouts, and then the controls to open the fuel cap and the hood, and then nothing down below there. Side view mirrors are a decent size. There is blindside detection. It's actually inside the vehicle. Sometimes it's actually on the mirror itself, but in Nissan's it's right here. It's a orange light that will illuminate when a car is in your blind spot, and you get that same technology on the passenger side as well. Up top we just have some simple controls to turn on the two lights, and then controls in the center to adjust whether or not the lights are going to turn on when you open the doors. Below there we have a rear view mirror, no buttons on it of any kind, just a switch right here. And then down below there we have two vents and a hazard button. Below there we have our center display. This is a touchscreen. It is a little bit dim. I don't know if you can notice through the camera, but you do have some dedicated buttons on the left and the right side. You can go to the main menu button. You can answer phone calls with this button. This is the day and night display brightness adjuster, so you can dim it during the night and make it a little bit brighter during the day. Let's actually adjust the brightness. Let's see if we can get it all the way to maximum and see if that'll help. That is a little bit brighter. You know, this is a brand new car and I can already see some fingerprints all over it, so I'm not sure if I like this setup, but it does work pretty well. You have dedicated menu buttons along the bottom to go to your phone screen, your audio screen, your connection screen, information about the vehicle, and your settings screen. I rarely use the phone screen. Audio is pretty good. I was able to connect my phone to this car within about, 15 seconds. It's really quick and easy. Connection screen, not super useful. You'll see I have deleted everything, so there's no phones set up right now, but you can see if anything's connected via USB, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth. Looks like we have a couple Wi-Fi connections in the area. That's kind of interesting. Let's go back to the main menu. An info screen that gives you just a bit of information about the system, not any information about the vehicle itself. For that, you're going to have to go up into this screen up here. And then a settings screen that allows you to change a couple of settings on the vehicle. So all in all, this is really functional, works great, but it doesn't have a ton of apps or a ton of toys to play around with. It's just a simple display with some basic functionality, and that's okay in my book. Below there we have our climate controls, a dial to adjust the temperature with a digital gauge in the center, a dial to adjust the fan, again with a digital gauge in the center, and then simple buttons to turn on and off the heat and turn on and off your defroster settings, adjust where the vents are blowing, and then turn on and off whether or not the vents are open to the outside. Below there we have a power port right here, a USB port, and an auxiliary jack. A small storage cutout right here. Let me see. That fits my cell phone pretty perfectly. Behind there we have the engine start button, and then a gear shift. Shifts the gears pretty smoothly, and you get a small light to show you which gear you're in. And then if you shift it into reverse, a rear view camera comes up. It's a little bit grainy, but it gets the job done. You have some guides to show you how close you're getting to an object behind you, and then when you manipulate the steering wheel, an orange guide pops up, and that'll give you an idea of where you're going to place the vehicle as you reverse. So let me show you real quick. Got the car in reverse, rear view camera up. I'm going to turn, and the guides are going to turn, and they're going to give me an idea of where the car is going. Let's see if I can go all the way around and park in this parking space. And there we go. Not too bad. So behind the gear shift we have our parking brake right there. 2 small cup holders. Got some tea this morning. And then behind there we have 2 USB ports. They're hidden underneath these kind of a rubbery plastic material right here. It actually feels pretty solid, so I don't think it's going to pop off given some time. But 2 USB ports and then another storage area right here that's kind of like a cup holder for your backseat passengers. You do get an armrest that shifts up and down. And then on the passenger side, we have a glove box. Oh, just a single storage area with enough room for your registration materials and your owner's manual. All right, I jumped in the back seat. I have this driver's seat pushed back to a pretty comfortable distance. I'm 6 feet tall, and I like the pedals a little bit further away from me. But despite that, you'll see that I still have some decent leg room, maybe 3 inches between my knees and the back of that front seat, which is pretty good. A couple of amenities back here. No pocket on the back of the driver seat, but you do have a small pocket on the back of the passenger seat. This is like a synthetic cloth material, has a little bit of give, so you can get some things back there. As I mentioned before, no center console with a lid on it. All you do is get a small cutout right here that you can probably keep a drink in. Let me move my tea back here because I'm kind of thirsty. Yeah, so you see, that works pretty well. It might shift around a little bit while you're driving, but it gets the job done. On the doors, we have window controls, door latch and door lock, and then up top, we do have a small handle right here. And that same setup is also available on the passenger side of the vehicle. No center armrest, right? Just a blank spot right here. Let's look at car seat anchors real quick. Here's the indicator right there. And you'll notice the car seat anchor is visible without even manipulating the seat. That's wonderful. That means it'll be super simple to latch a car seat back here if you want to. So that's a big plus in my book.
Now let's jump out of the vehicle so I can show you a few things real quick. First off, the antenna on the roof does disconnect. You just have to twist it a couple of times and it comes right off. This is great if you're going to take the car through a car wash. Also, you do get keyless entry. You just have to push this button right here on the door handle. And if you have the key fob in your pocket, you can lock or unlock the car by pressing this button. And if for some reason you do get locked out, there's actually an actual physical key hidden in the fob. You just have to flip it over and push this little button right here and the key slips out. And then you can actually lock or unlock the vehicle manually if you want to. Alright, so that leaves the hatch. There's actually quite a bit of room back here considering this is a subcompact crossover SUV. In my opinion, this is plenty of room for suitcases, groceries, and all that good stuff. It's a nice size space, although if you'll notice the wheel wells do infringe on the space just a little bit, but you're still left with quite a bit of room back here, which I was pretty impressed with. Also, under the floor of this area, there is a spare tire. It's underneath a light styrofoam casing that holds the tools, so that's always a good thing. And you can also remove this privacy screen pretty easily. You just have to undo a couple of cords right here and then give it a good yank and it pops right out. And it's really easy to put back if you want to use the privacy screen. I typically remove them on my vehicles because I just don't see the point. You can fold the rear seats back if you need a little bit more cargo room. Just know that you're probably going to have to push those front seats forward a little bit to make enough room or take the headrests off. I found that a little bit annoying. But once you get it all things situated, there's actually quite a bit of room back here with those seats folded down, so you can get some larger items in the back of this vehicle fairly easily, and that's always a good thing. Alright, so now that we've toured the vehicle, let me share what it's actually like to drive this car, and I want to start with handling. I was actually really impressed with handling. Now, a crossover SUV is on a car frame, so don't be shocked that this actually drives quite a bit like a sedan, which I think is a good thing. It's easy to maneuver at low speeds, super easy to park, and even at higher speeds I felt really comfortable going around corners. I never felt like the car was going to slip or like it was pulling at all. So all in all, I was really, really happy with the handling on this vehicle. Acceleration is also pretty good. Now, remember, you only get about 122 horsepower on this thing, so it's not the fastest car on the road, but the acceleration is really responsive. When you do jam down on that accelerator, you move forward pretty quick, and also, it's really responsive when you're already moving at speeds. So when you're going at about 40 miles per hour and you want to kick it up to maybe 50 or 60 really quickly, the Kicks does respond really nicely. And the engine growls just a little bit, which I kind of like. And lastly, let's talk about cabin noise. Now remember, this is like a $20,000 SUV, so you're not going to get premium sound when it comes to a car like this, but it's pretty good. I never felt like I had to increase the volume on the podcast that I was listening to, although I could hear the wind whipping through the cabin quite a bit at higher speeds. So when you get up to 70, the cabin noise, it's pretty noticeable. But at normal speeds, driving at 30, 40, and 50 miles per hour, it's barely noticeable, which I think is pretty exceptional for a car at this price point. Alright, so that's pretty much everything end-to-end on the 2020 Nissan Kicks SV. Before I get to my rating, I just want to mention, this is kind of the car that I like. I like smaller, practical, little SUVs like this, so you're not going to be surprised that I'm going to give this one 5 stars. Look, for $20,000, you get a great vehicle. It handles and drives well. It's got good cabin noise, updated technology, especially in that gauge cluster, and good cargo room. I don't really know what else you would want at a price point like this, except maybe if you like the car styled a different way, but I tend to like how Nissan styles their vehicles. So anyway, that's me. If you think differently, please leave me a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I rent and review my 141st rental car. I'll see you then.